Tonight, a budget leak. The Chancellor sets out her plans for the next year. It follows an unprecedented leak of the details online, including tax rises and the scrapping of the two-child benefit cap. Meanwhile, there's dismay in the oil and gas sector as it's confirmed the windfall tax on their profits will stay in place until 2030. Also tonight, a public inquiry hears opening statements into the actions of rogue Tayside surgeon Sam El-Jamel, who's thought to have harmed many of his patients. And in sport, the Dons make final preparations ahead of their Europa Conference League clash with Armenian champions Noah. Good evening, I'm Norman MacLeod, and this is the STV News at 6, live from Aberdeen. The Chancellor has announced an extra £820 million for the Scottish Government as part of the UK budget. Rachel Reeves laid out her plans for the next year with changes to taxes and spending. It came after an unprecedented early leak of the details online, a blunder she described as deeply disappointing. Some of the most significant measures include the removal of the two-child benefit cap. The cap means parents can only claim certain benefits for their first two children. There will be a rise in the national minimum wage for workers. And there will be a new tax for electric vehicles. It'll be a mileage-based charge starting in 2028. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie looks at how this year's budget unfolded.
Chancellor, is Christmas cancelled? Are you about to break your manifesto pledges?
The answers came earlier than expected. Details of the measures inside the Chancellor's red box were published half an hour early by mistake. It was a chaotic conclusion to a budget process marked by U-turns, leaks and speculation.
This all falls short of standards that the House expects.
A rap in the knuckles from the Deputy Speaker before Rachel Reeves announced extra money for Scotland.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that from the SNP. Did they not? £20 million for the Scottish Government over the spending review period.
The Chancellor also confirmed an end to the limit on children eligible for universal or child tax credit.
I can announce today, fully costed and fully funded, the removal of the two-child limit in full from April.
While income tax thresholds are decided at Holyrood, Rachel Reeves froze the personal allowance, the level people start paying. That will hit here as salaries increase.
Cutting the debt, cutting waiting lists and cutting the cost of living. Those are Labour choices, promised and delivered by this budget, promised and delivered by this Labour government. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
A pat on the back from the Prime Minister. But the Conservatives say this budget amounts to a total humiliation.
This is a budget for Benefit Street, Madam Deputy Speaker, paid for by working people. This budget increases benefits for 560,000 families by an average of £5,000. They are hiking taxes on workers, pensioners and savers to pay for handouts to keep their backbenchers quiet.
The Scottish Government says the budget will not move the dial on the cost of living.
In terms of energy bills, well, look, households will not be cheering from the rafters because, in actual fact, their household bills are still about £340 higher than Labour promised, even with today's announcement. So household budgets are still under a lot of stress and strain.
The end to the two-child cap was welcome news at this charity in Aberdeen.
It's a massive moment, not only for charities like us, but obviously for the children and families being affected. It's going to be hugely welcome, especially at this time of year, to think that in a few months' time that extra payment's going to be coming in time for, spring, getting into summertime, when children are wanting to be playing outside. It'll be hugely, hugely welcome.
After the announcements comes the hard sell, as the Chancellor looks to win over backbenchers as well as voters. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Well, our political editor, Colin Mackay, is at Westminster. Well, Colin, what did you make of the Chancellor's budget statement?
Well, after weeks of leaks, the leak to top them all, the Office for Budget Responsibility blurted out the whole thing before the Chancellor even had time to stand up in Parliament. It was a chaotic start to what has been a chaotic budget process. But when she actually got on with it, Rachel Reeves was pretty good, pretty commanding in the chamber against some heavy barracking from the Tory benches. And you could see how nervous she was when she took a drink of water. Her hand was shaking. But when you look at a UK budget nowadays, you actually have to take a second look to see what actually applies to Scotland. A lot of things like income tax, the mansion tax, they have no impact directly on people in Scotland at all. New taxes like electric vehicles, online gambling, they will have an impact. So too will scrapping the two-child benefit cap, cutting energy bills. They apply right across the UK. And obviously, the Scottish Secretary thinks it's all great.
What we've seen is a Labour budget delivering for the people of Scotland. £820 million more money to back Scottish public services, an energy price cut of £150 coming through next spring, and at the same time 26,000 households lifted out of poverty, about 100,000 Scottish kids helped as a direct result of the measures announced today. That's a Labour budget delivering for Scotland.
£820 million in Barnett consequentials. Over how long?
Till 28-29 financial years, so over the spending review period.
So that's over quite a long period of time. It doesn't amount to, well, it amounts to less than 1% a year, doesn't it?
Well, if you look at the amount that we've now contributed to the Scottish Government's budget...
But on this one alone, it's less than 1%, isn't it?
Just let me add to the point.
Isn't it?
It's £10 billion since July 2024 when we came to power, on top of everything else. That is comfortably, Colin, the largest settlement in the 25 years of devolution. We had already delivered £5.2 billion before this budget. We've now seen with the increase today that there will be significant additional resources available for Scotland.
So there's a lot more for Scotland last year in the budget than there is this year?
Yes, we've topped up the money we gave last year, but now we're looking at £10 billion more delivered by a Labour government to the Scottish Government.
And Colin, what about wider reaction?
Well, there's been enthusiastic reaction to the scrapping of the two-child benefit cap. Charities say that it's bold action from the government. It actually saves the Scottish Government about £155 million in their plans to mitigate this next year. Now, the business sector is not seeing this quite so positively. They say it's not a budget for growth, with record tax levels up £26 billion. The oil and gas sector is far from happy with the North Sea Future Plan. They say that they're shedding about 1,000 jobs a month at the moment, and this will do nothing to stop that. There wasn't even a mention from the Chancellor of the Energy Profits Levy today. Unions are welcoming the increase in the minimum wage. The Chancellor says that this is all about tackling the cost of living. But in the OBR paper, there's very little growth predicted for real household disposable incomes over the next few years. Next comes the Scottish budget in January.
And that'll be interesting. Colin at Westminster, many thanks. Well, the oil industry described the budget as a bitter blow to the sector after the Chancellor failed to reform the windfall tax. The Energy Profits Levy, which the sector warns will cause more significant job losses, will remain in place until the end of the decade. It comes as the UK government unveiled its North Sea strategy, and it again said it won't allow drilling in new fields. Stephen Brown has more.
In Aberdeen and across the North East, many have been waiting with bated breath. This budget was seen as one of, if not the most crucial ever for the oil sector. In the end, Rachel Reeves didn't even mention the windfall tax, but in this case for the sector, silence was far from golden. The levy will remain at its current level and won't end before 2030.
We recognise it's a difficult budget, but actually we could unlock £50 billion worth of investment. We could support 160,000 jobs, and in doing so, actually this sector will pay more tax, not less. And the government has said no to that. And what that means is we're going to continue to see 1,000 jobs lost a month. We're going to undermine, I think, a critical industry.
By the time the tax comes to an end in 2030, it's expected to bring in £200 million, £600 million down on a previous forecast in March. The windfall tax has been blamed for hundreds of job losses in the sector this year alone, and wholesale prices have dropped significantly since it was first introduced in 2022. But environmental campaigners say that globally, oil and gas firms continue to make large profits. Meanwhile, the UK government today also published its strategy on the future of the North Sea and stood by its manifesto commitment not to grant new drilling licences in new fields. The UK government says it will allow new production on or next to existing fields under certain circumstances. The man whose idea that was believes it's a good compromise to allow Labour to stick to its manifesto pledge.
I think this is a really encouraging sign that the government will look at independent data and evidence, respond to that positively, and they're offering an olive branch for discussions, and it's a clear indication that they're willing to change their mind when presented with solid data and facts.
And environmental campaigners say the focus must now be on workers.
In recognising that there won't be any new licensing, we know that the government won't be distracted by that spectre of drilling that is indefinite and can actually, we hope, get on with the job of that transition and supporting those workers.
The UK government says this is a world-leading plan and ensures the North Sea is an energy powerhouse. Ultimately, though, this will not be enough for the oil and gas sector. No tax reform and banning new licences. The warning now from some is more jobs will likely go. The question for many is simply when. Stephen Brown, STV News.
To other news, NHS Tayside destroyed 40 theatre logbooks detailing operations carried out by disgraced surgeon Sam El-Jamel months after a Do Not Destroy notice was issued. A public inquiry heard that the hard copies, which could have contained vital evidence, were ruined in the summer. The lawyer representing patients described it as gross negligence or possible malice. The Health Board said it was an error and that it's sorry. Lynn Rankin reports.
Some have suffered suicidal ideation. Some have lost their jobs, their ability to access work and education, their homes, their marriages and their families.
The public inquiry into Sam El-Jamel opened with the lasting daily damage faced by those who put their life in his hands. And then the revelation that NHS Tayside had destroyed potentially key evidence, despite the inquiry chair issuing a Do Not Destroy order in October last year.
The board has recently discovered that around 40 hard copy theatre logbooks, which would have contained information relating to Mr El-Jamel's surgeries in the period 1995 to 2013, were destroyed by NHS Tayside employees this summer on the 24th of July 2025. It seems to us that the only explanation for what has occurred must be gross negligence or indeed possible malice.
It has been ascertained that the theatre logbooks were destroyed by members of the department in which they were held. The individuals involved were not aware of the connection between the theatre logbooks and Mr El-Jamel. The destruction was carried out in accordance with the NHS and Scottish Government guidance policies. The destroyed theatre logbooks related to surgeries undertaken by Mr El-Jamel and by other members of staff. NHS Tayside deeply regrets this error and is committed to ensuring that it does not happen again.
Many patients who have campaigned for this inquiry have claimed parts of their medical records are missing or have been falsified. For them, the destruction of potentially crucial evidence is shocking, but not surprising.
Atrocious and despicable, but in the same breath, I'm not surprised. This health board, this current leadership, they claim that they have systemic changes. They can't even keep their admin in order, their house in order with the admin, to enable personnel delete 40 important log files.
The inquiry could be extended beyond Ninewells Hospital in Dundee to examine other parts of the NHS, including Fife. Patients had been due to begin giving evidence in April. That has now been postponed until September next year, a moment that will mark 3 years since they won their battle for a public inquiry to be granted. Lynn Rankin, STV News.
169 jobs have been lost in Scotland after the National Timber Group appointed joint administrators this afternoon. 13 of the group's UK branches have closed with immediate effect, including Forfar-based Orchard Timber Products and Rembrandt Timber. A sale process for the business and its assets has now been launched. Administrators say that due to liquidity challenges, 561 immediate redundancies have been made across the UK. Additional bed capacity is critical in allowing NHS Grampian to fulfil its care and financial requirements. That's according to Scotland's Auditor General, who gave evidence on the Health Board's finances at Holyrood today. NHS Grampian has the lowest amount of beds per population in the country and is facing a multi-million-pound overspend. It says it's committed to working with the Scottish Government to improve patient care and facilities.
In order to move from where they are now with bed capacity will require significant additional investment. Whether both in terms of whether it's resource, how people are used, estate provision, and that's of course within a context of a health board that's receiving considerable brokerage and loan funds to deliver financial balance. All of that needs to be squared to move to the sustainable model.
Teachers at a Perth private school have gone on strike over changes to their pension contributions, which unions say left staff facing the threat of redundancy. Members of the EIS at Craigclown School walked out today after being moved to a new scheme, which cuts the employer contribution from 26% to 14%. The school says the new offer remains generous, adding it'll provide certainty to its finances.
The school then issued fire and rehire letters which threatened to dismiss staff and re-engage them if they wished with a new pension. Now that amount of pressure on staff that really are the backbone of any school, that pressure to make them redundant it was unacceptable, and that really has angered a large number of staff and has driven, I think, the strike action here at the school.
Staff at Dundee's Gardyne Theatre are sharing their sadness at confirmation the business will close with the loss of around 24 jobs. The company, which organises performances at the city's college campus, is to cease trading at the end of the year. The facility has hosted various events, including pantomimes and comedians. All staff are to be made redundant.
It's the best, or one of the best venues in Dundee and Angus area. Every client that's brought their shows for the first time there, and regular clients, has all commented on how great a facility the theatre is, and they prefer to come to the Gardyne Theatre for the shows over many other venues.
The £20 million regeneration of Arbroath has taken a major step forward, with plans submitted to the UK Government. 28 projects are included in the Bold Vision, which was drawn up with the help of local people. Over the past year, community engagement events and surveys have been held to gather the views of the public. The investment will be allocated over 10 years, with the first of the funding expected to be distributed in the spring.
I love Arbroath, I'm proud of Arbroath. It's a gem that just needs polish and needs some TLC. And the reality is that £20 million in this day and age isn't actually a lot of money, but it will go a long way to help regenerate the town. And it's important that we also attract additional external funding through grants, through public and private funding as well, to supplement that £20 million.
Now, Scottish rugby stars Matt and Xander Fagerson have officially opened the Beacon in Arbroath. The Community Wellbeing Centre supports people who are experiencing emotional distress in Angus. Today's ceremony comes during Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, with the brothers urging people to talk openly and to seek support. The centre has already helped more than 500 people since April.
It doesn't just affect one group of people. Everybody goes through these struggles. So I think the more that us as professional athletes, can break down these, as you said, taboos and stigmas, the better it'll be. And I think it's getting better year on year. And a place like the Beacon, is massive. Like, if people can see that, two local boys who have made it in the sporting world, can be open and honest about the mental struggles that we've been through. Hopefully that'll give them a bit of confidence to reach out. I've had quite a rough sort of last couple of months with just injuries back to back and stuff, you know, and I've had some amazing times with my family and some real highs, but at the same time, you know, it still affects you on a weekly and day-to-day basis sometimes as well, and just having that conversation with someone, you know, a problem shared is a problem halved, so it's more just having that, reaching out to someone and asking for help, or just saying I'm going through a little bit just now, can I talk to you about something?
Let's turn to all the sport now, tonight with Stephanie.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
A very good evening to you, and we start on the European stage, and Aberdeen boss Jimmy Tillene says tomorrow night's Europa Conference League visit of Noah is a must-win game. As the Dons prepare to welcome the Armenian side to Pittodrie, Tillene says his team is growing. With more, here's Reem Sattar.
Cold conditions in training at Cormac Park this morning, but Aberdeen are ready to turn up the heat on their European campaign. Jimmy Tillene says the visit of Armenian side Noah to Pittodrie tomorrow night is a must-win if the Dons are to keep their hopes of progressing to the league phase alive. And fresh from becoming the first side to get the better of Hearts this season, the Dons have hit form at just the right time.
Yeah, I think so. If you see the table and the games we have left, and to give us an opportunity to go through, we have to win tomorrow. That's clear. It's still going to be a difficult game. Noah is a good team. They have a good manager. They have 4 points and did some good results. So it's a difficult team to play, but for us tomorrow, to give us the chance and opportunity to get through, we have to win tomorrow at home.
Victory over Hearts means Tillene's side head into the game unbeaten in their last 4 games. Now the Dons aim to take their resurgent league form onto the European stage.
I think they have been really strong all the time with the mentality, and I think the team is growing. I'm usually not talking so much about confidence. I think you should focus on taking step by step and develop yourself and grow, and don't forget that you are what you can do with a lot of hard work and togetherness. So I think the team has been so stable in a difficult time, and now we also get some results because of the hard work we're doing, and don't lose in sight of our goals for this club and the team.
It means a lot for everyone in the dressing room. Of course, when we are not beaten during a lot of games in a row, it's always good for the confidence, for the mind. So yeah, we are just in the best position we can do for tomorrow. So yeah, we are confident to go tomorrow.
Jesper Karlsson returns to the squad, and Tillene has no fresh injury concerns. Reem Sattar, STV Sport.
A big game at Pittodrie tomorrow night. Now, Dundee boss Stephen Presley believes he's the man to turn Dundee's Dark Blues fortunes around. After a run of 4 straight defeats, Presley says the visit of St Mirren to Dens on Saturday is a pivotal one. Saturday's 2-0 defeat to Hibs saw Dundee slump to their 4th loss in a row, having conceded 11 goals and scoring just once in that time. Just a point off the bottom of the Premiership, Dark Blues boss Stephen Presley remains confident he will turn the tide.
Well, I certainly hope so. You know, I think it's been a challenging period, but I've retained a lot of faith in what we're doing. As I've said, I see progress in certain things. We've had to adapt, we've had to go with certain systems and change certain systems and introduce players later. So we get all that, but I don't think the supporters want to hear that at present, if truth be told. So I think the important thing is that we know that this weekend's a pivotal weekend. We know that for both clubs, it can be the catalyst for real confidence within the group, a real feel-good factor, and we have to ensure that we're on the right end of the result.
Despite the run of defeats following last month's victory over Celtic, Presley has continued to see progress, but he knows fans want more.
I could talk all day about performance, improved performance, but really the supporters want to see those results. So I understand that. That's why, for both clubs this weekend, I think it's a very important game.
Having arrived at Dens on loan from Hearts in August, it's been a stop-start season so far for Jan Danda, but he's ready to kickstart his and Dundee's campaign.
And me personally, just focusing on myself. I want to play games, create chances, score goals, and that's what I know I'll do. I've done it in this league before, and I know I'll do it again. But I think the manager, when he says he's proud of us and he's seeing improvements, he works with us day to day, and the messages him and the staff are giving, we're trying to carry out, and he's starting to see that.
And the good news for Presley is he has a fully fit squad ahead of the weekend. Now, St Johnstone boss Simo Valakari denies it's a two-horse race for the championship title. Partick Thistle moved level on points with Saints at the top of the table after a 1-0 win over Dunfermline last night. Both sides are now 11 points clear of third-placed Ayr United.
I have won the title when I have been 9 points behind. But at the same time, I have lost the title when I have been 6 points front this time of year or even later on. So for me, it's nothing, because winning and to get the 3 points, it's so big. And then still, with some of the teams, we still play 3 times. So it's basically you win your opponent, it's 9 points. So it's nothing there.
That's all the sport from me. We'll have more from that big game at Pittodrie tomorrow.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Well, let's move on to the weather now. It's been a miserable afternoon here in the east. How's it looking for the rest of the week, Philip?
Well, yes, Norman. Today we have seen a change in our weather. Rather than crisp, chilly conditions, we've seen cloudy and damp weather across the country. Tomorrow, we're keeping an eye on an area of low pressure moving through. It's a very strong feature and will bring with it strong winds. The Met Office have already issued a yellow weather warning running from 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon until 11 a.m. Friday, as we could see gusts of up to 75 miles per hour in some spots. Thankfully, because the strongest winds are expected overnight, impacts will be limited as there's less people out and about and most people will be in bed. But it will lead to a pretty windy rush hour on Friday. Here's the forecast.
An icy start to the day will give way to a series of oohs and ahs. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, throughout today we've seen an area of low pressure just to the north of Scotland with this frontal system associated with that. That's what brought with it all the cloudy and damp conditions for many of us today. It also introduced a warmer air mass from the west though, so we are seeing our temperatures climb a few degrees. Tomorrow, a deep area of low pressure pushes through and that will bring with it some fairly strong winds across the country. But then it puts us into a northerly airflow again just in time for the weekend. Back to just now, very little change from what we've seen throughout the course of the day. A cloudy night to come. We'll see some scattered showers and bands of rain moving eastwards throughout the night. And as that rain moves through, it will be turning a bit breezy. Temperatures for most places above freezing with the wind, the rain and the cloud, lows of around 4 to 7 degrees Celsius. So looking ahead to tomorrow, a cloudy start to the day. A lot of low cloud, mist and hill fog around. We'll continue to see scattered showers pushing through. Around lunchtime, we've got a cold front moving in from the west. That brings with it a narrow band of rain. Behind that though, drier and clearer conditions for a time towards tomorrow evening. Temperature-wise, up a fair few degrees compared to what we have been seeing. Highs of 13 or 14, that's above average for the time of year. Then looking ahead to Friday, a very windy start to the day as that low pressure starts to pull away. Temperatures coming down a degree or two, highs of 10. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And that's where we have to leave it for this Wednesday evening. I'll be back again at 10 to 11. Have a good evening.